in the race to bring Olympics.
In the dark corners of crime-infested Melbourne, there existed a duo whose names struck terror into the hearts of both law enforcement and the criminal underworld. Meet the magician, Stewart John Regan, and Mr. Death, Dennis Bruce Allen, two psychopaths united by an insatiable appetite for violence, leaving a trail of fear and death in their wake. Join us here on Crime Scene Archives and witness the horrific story of one of Australia's darkest nightmares. Alan, the prodigy of crime matriarch Kath Pentingill, rose to infamy as one of Melbourne's most prolific drug dealers, orchestrating up to 13 murders within the confines of his own home. The criminal underworld celebrated when the reign of terror finally came to an end. Regan, born in the quiet town of Young, New South Wales in 1945, emerged as a force of malevolence from a young age. His love for violence was a harbinger of the darkness that lay within him. Raised in the seedy streets of Paddington, a suburb teeming with impoverished families, he honed his vicious skills in the crucible of street fights. At just 14, Regan's brutality landed him in the unforgiving Gosford boys' home, where instead of taming his violent tendencies, he endured brutal beatings that only fueled his appetite for cruelty. Venturing from Paddington to the notorious King's Cross and Darlinghurst, Regan's reputation as a heartless and vicious criminal grew. In one haunting tale, Regan, during a confrontation, mercilessly beat his adversary before callously extinguishing a lit cigarette in the victim's eye, an act so cold and ruthless as the man himself. His descent into the criminal underworld continues as he turned to pimping, preying on vulnerable women in the slums, enforcing his reign through brutality and fear. As suburban gangsters delves into the lives of these despised criminals, the stories of the magician and Mr. Death unfold like a chilling narrative of darkness, weaving a tale of violence and malevolence that left even the criminal underworld rejoicing at their demise. In the shadowy realm of crime and deception, Stewart John Regan wielded control over a stable of prostitutes, extracting substantial wealth through a web of fear and brutality. His iron-fisted rule dictated that any reluctance to surrender earnings resulted in violent repercussions, leaving no room for negotiation. Regan's strength, both physical and psychological, made him a formidable figure, a standover man whose associates would soon realize the perilous nature of doing business with him. While Regan was establishing his criminal empire in Sydney, Dennis Allen was carving his own dark path in Melbourne. Although lacking Regan's raw toughness, Allen compensated with cunning and treachery that made him a man not to be trusted. His demeanor exuded malevolence, earning him the chilling moniker Mr. Death, or simply Mr. D. As a millionaire heroin dealer, Allen's notoriety extended to orchestrating up to 13 murders, each more gruesome than the last. One particularly macabre tale unfolded in Allen's own home, where witnesses attested to the cold-blooded execution and dismemberment of Anton Kenny. Jason Ryan, Allen's nephew, disclosed the horrifying details, revealing the depths of madness that permeated their lives. Chainsaws and meat cleavers became tools of the trade as Allen callously disposed of his victims, indifferent to the consequences of his actions. Dennis Allen's birth on Melbourne Cup Day 1951 added another layer to his tumultuous life story. Born to a 16-year-old Kath Pentingill, his early years were marked by deception, as he delivered his grandparents to be his parents and Kathy, his sister. The tangled family dynamics, coupled with later revelations and domestic violence, sowed the seeds of Allen's transformation into a violent and twisted individual. In a world where rules and social contracts held little significance, Dennis Allen stood as a testament to the embodiment of evil, a man who valued only himself and navigated the treacherous waters of crime with an unwavering commitment to his dark pursuits. In the tumultuous backdrop of their early lives, both Dennis Allen and Stewart Regan emerged from troubled beginnings, each shaped by a world steeped in violence and crime. Allen, born into chaos on Melbourne Cup Day in 1951, suffered early abuse from Kathy's mother, Gladys, whose brutal wielding of a broomstick left an indelible mark on his childhood. Growing up in the rough public housing estate of Olympic Village, Dennis found himself immersed in a criminal family, surrounded by small armed robberies, petty thefts, and assaults from an early age. His stint at Tarana Boys' home, marked by a culture of punishment, only fueled the flames of his rage, imparting lessons in violence that would define his future. As Dennis ventured into the workforce at a young age, his job at a panel beaters firm in Frankston unveiled a penchant for recklessness. Nocturnal escapades with stolen cars brought him to the attention of the police, resulting in brutal encounters that further solidified his resolve. A stint at Tarana Boys' home for theft at the age of 13 marked the beginning of a troubling journey through a juvenile justice system described as a gladiator school. The atmosphere within Tarana's walls, focused on control through punishment, left Dennis hardened and resentful, setting the stage for a return home where his aggression found an outlet, even directed at his adored grandfather, Harry Allen. Despite the beatings, there existed a paradoxical tenderness with Dennis, revealed when he would apologize to Harry with a kiss on the forehead, illustrating the duality of his character. In the parallel narrative of Dennis Allen, his criminal career was just gaining a momentum. At the age of 22, he faced a 9-year sentence for the kidnap of a 19-year-old woman, marking a harrowing chapter in his descent into darkness. The tales of Regan and Allen intertwine, creating a tapestry of crime, violence, and a chilling exploration of two men navigating a world devoid of moral constraints. Inside the walls of Pentridge Prison, Dennis Allen formed connections with major drug dealers. Upon his release 5 years later, he leveraged these contacts to establish himself as a heroin supplier, reaching the pinnacle of earning the equivalent of $200,000 a week in today's currency. Once entrenched in the drug trade, Allen's descent into danger accelerated, leading to a series of feuds and a trail of murders. Aided by a loyal family known as the Clan, Dennis cultivated Victoria's most notorious criminal brood, a primitive urban tribe bound by blood and crime. Nephew Jason Ryan, a reluctant participant in his uncle's criminal activities, bore witness to 3 of Allen's murders. One chilling account involved the killing of Wayne Stanhope, a friend of Dennis, who met his demise after an innocuous visit. The pervasive atmosphere within the Allen Pentingill Pierce family was marked by dysfunction, creating a primitive yet formidable crime gang. While Dennis Allen's empire thrived, his personal life descended into chaos. He battled a severe addiction to speed, injecting a staggering 7 grams of pure speed daily. Kathy, Allen's mother, recounted his frequent episodes of psychosis and the resulting emotional instability, including an incident where he tried to kill her, not recognizing her as family. The drug-fueled madness extended to Allen's home, where brutality knew no bounds. Kathy rescued a barely conscious man from imminent death one night, a victim of Dennis and his soldiers waiting to finish the job. Despite his heinous acts, Allen's notoriety protected him from reprisal within the criminal underworld. Stewart Regan, known as the Magician, embarked on a murder spree, eliminating associates who could implicate him in his criminal activities. The disappearance of Carlos Scott Hugh, the son of prostitute Helen Scott Hugh, marked a turning point in Regan's criminal career. Despite overwhelming public and criminal belief in Regan's guilt, he manipulated the situation, offering false leads and taunting the police. While specific information about Regan's later years may not be as readily available, the general narrative suggests that he continued his criminal pursuits for a significant period. The documented cases, including his involvement in murder and his ability to avoid convictions due to lack of witnesses or evidence, contribute to the enigmatic nature of his story. Unfortunately, the lack of comprehensive information makes it challenging to provide a detailed account of Stewart John Regan's later life, including the circumstances of his demise. His criminal legacy, however, remains ingrained in the complex history of Melbourne's underworld during the era in which he operated. While Allen and Regan's criminal exploits reached new heights, their lives were on a collision course. A confrontation with ratty Jack Clark, an SB bookie and standover man, would set off a chain of events leading to the downfall of both men. Allen's paranoia, fueled by methamphetamine binges, resulted in multiple murders within the confines of his Melbourne properties. Among his victims was Helga Vagnig, a prostitute and junkie, whose demise was orchestrated by Allen under the belief that she was informing the police. The drug-induced paranoia and ruthlessness of Dennis Allen would soon plunge him deeper into the abyss, earning him the moniker Mr. Death for the carnage he left in his wake. According to Jason Ryan, Dennis Allen's brutality reached disturbing heights when he gave Helga Wagner a heroin overdose that failed to kill her. In a macabre sequence of events, Dennis instructed Jason to fetch water from the nearby Yarra River and forcibly poured it down Helga's throat. Describing her struggle as reminiscent of a whale, Jason revealed it took several attempts before Dennis succeeded in drowning her, disposing of her body in the Yarra River. As Melbourne's preeminent heroin and amphetamine dealer, Allen amassed considerable wealth, purchasing properties in Cremorne for cash. Soon his empire extended to adjacent streets, providing residences for family members and loyal associates. The neighborhood, however, was plagued by incessant disturbances, loud music, screams, and gunshots, prompting police surveillance from the recently closed Rosella Soup Cannery. Dennis's erratic behavior included firing shots at police conducting surveillance, leading to pleas for restraint. Despite his criminal activities, Dennis paradoxically held a peculiar affinity for law enforcement. Known to assist police and even inform on others, he once alerted them to a case full of forged $20 notes. His cooperation extended to providing critical information about fellow criminals, making him an invaluable asset to certain members of the police force. A bizarre dynamic unfolded within the police force, with conflicting factions either arming or warning Dennis. Despite facing serious charges including murder, Dennis consistently secured bail, often due to police officers advocating for his release in court. The belief that Dennis was more useful outside prison, feeding information to the police, fueled this peculiar arrangement. In 1987, Dennis Allen was finally convicted on drug-related charges and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. He served time in various prisons, including Pentridge Prison. Allen's health deteriorated due to his long-term drug use, and he died in prison on April 15, 1987. The complex and often controversial relationship between Allen and law enforcement, as well as his eventual demise, highlights the intricate dynamics within the criminal underworld during that era. As we draw the curtain on the riveting tales of Dennis Allen and Stewart John Regan, there's an opportunity to glean insights from the shadows of their enigmatic lives. Stories like this, woven with threads of crime and intrigue, invite us to reflect on the broader canvas of human nature. As we close this chapter, we invite you to share your opinions, thoughts, and reflections on the lessons embedded in these tales. In the comments section below, let your voice join the conversation. What do you think these stories reveal about the human psyche, morality, or the thin line between right and wrong? Your perspective adds depth to the narrative, transforming it from mere storytelling to a shared exploration of the intricacies of human behavior. Let the dialogue continue, for in our collective contemplation lies the power to unravel the mysteries concealed in the shadows. And for more stories like this, check out our video on Sherry Papini's abduction. Was it real? Or was it all just a hoax? A twisted plan to get money or to get back with her ex? Find out how the police debunk the truth on this case and more on our channel, Crime Scene Archives. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more intriguing crime stories.